In today's video, I'll be interviewing Pete Fry. Pete Fry was my PE teacher but also a learning support assistant at my primary school. Today we talk about how he got to know me and was then able to support me at school. We learn about the techniques he used to help me and what he thought about my school life and leaving school. We also talk about the stories of me at school, and you are all in for some laughs. Hello guys, welcome to the last episode of the Autism Connections, and as you can tell by the introduction guys, today's guest is the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mr. Pete Fry. Mr. Fry.
Max.
Thank you for coming on.
It's always a pleasure.
So my first question to everyone is, what is your connection to autism?
So my connection to autism, Max, if I have to be honest, it wasn't a great deal of knowledge from it until I come across you, and I didn't know what you had, to be honest with you. And I thought, like, you know, as sort of time went on, what is different about this boy? But I don't mean in a nasty way. And then your parents, which I spoke to them, and I said, you know, Max, he's a lovely lad, but there's something sort of like, he's quite a lot different from the other people that I'm involved with, which your parents then explained what your problem was. Well, it wasn't a problem, but if you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, as you say, that's that sort of language that's always used, is, you know, what's wrong or problem. But as you say, it's just the language that people are used to. You know, my mum, I've interviewed my mum for this series, and even for her, the language was, you know, what was wrong and things like that. So it's what you're used to. It's what the language is used around you. You'll go with. But
as time went on, you know, and I have to be honest, it wasn't easy. But so you start sort of like trying to work a way around this and sort of try to find a way in of, you know, the problem, and how do you sort of interact with you, Max at the time. How do you interact with Max that you can't interact with other people? And after a reasonably long time, but you start to work into that, and I sort of worked it out, not just myself, there's other people involved in this that was looking after you, not just me. You know, it wasn't a one-man affair. And we talk about that, and then there were certain issues you sort of think, oh, he's having a bad day, which I'm sure you'll remember. How's things, Max? And it was always like, if I got one of those, you think this is going to be a nice day. If I got one of those, you think it's either going to go there or the other one, which is down there. And if you've got one of those, think, here we go, we got to work our way through this now. And after a long period of time, and I'd say a long period of time, there was a way that I'd worked out, not just me and the other team, of getting it from that back to that, and then see if you could swing it back to that. And after a while, sort of worked it out what your interests were. That's my theory. He hates that. But at some point, everybody has to do things in life that we don't like. Everybody.
Yeah.
But looking at with you, it was looking at the time schedule, think, whatever it might be that you didn't like doing, to think, don't throw, you know, if everybody had to do maths and you're not in a mindset to do this, it was a pointless exercise to ever try and throw you to it. Get round to you and get it to up there what you like doing, and that was always your acting, your singing, your laughing and joking about. So, well, let's get him back up there. There's this pointless exercise trying to throw you into maths, because you were never going to be in the mood for it, and we'd sit there all day and you'd go off on one, and then everybody else would be up in the air and across the ceilings and down the other side. And that was it. But And you used to sort of like, you put yourself, you remember, you could put yourself in a corner. I'm not coming out, I'm not coming out, I'm not having it, I'm not having it. I'm one of these.
Yeah.
Well, Max, you know, I'm having one of these as well, so we've got to negotiate somewhere along the line, right in the middle.
Yeah.
And after a while, if I could think of something, I can't think off the top of my head, make you laugh, I thought, oh, hello, we might be on a roll here, come on.
Yeah.
And you'd start coming towards me smiling. And you sort of like get so far in, think, oh, he's going to go, we're there.
Yeah.
And then, right, we're going to, and then once you calm down, we go and do maths. If you might be a day late from everybody else, I don't mean behind on maths, but you might, if people agree, let him do the maths tomorrow, because this is pointless.
Yeah.
It's pointless. And that's, but I always sort of like, I worked out what you liked and what you didn't like. But we all have to do things that we don't like. And after a period of time, I think, do you know what? This lad, giving him a shot, he'll do anything. Yeah. Anything. You would do anything, you know, like you wouldn't mind sweeping up to help up and tidy up and do things like that. And underneath it all, and I had a sort of great deal of people with your condition. But underneath it, I have to be honest, mate, there was somewhere along the line you thought, this lad, he's okay. And I never felt, to be honest, I never felt threatened one bit in any danger whatsoever. Some people, I'm not going to sort of mention, oh, but you want to watch out when he goes like that, you know, he'll hurt you. And I never felt at one point that I was ever going to turn my back on you. He never felt threatened like, you know, he's like to bash me on top of the head with a chair.
Yeah.
You throw them on the odd occasion, but never directly.
No.
And you know, you throw them against the wall in frustration. But I never felt threatened. People say, "Oh, you know, no, I don't feel threatened one bit." You know, I wear a cap, and I never thought for 1 minute, I better get a crash helmet on this morning. I've never felt that at all.
And I think the things that you say there are, I think a lot of teachers are scared to sort of break the rules and come out of that sort of, you know, that structure. You know, teachers are so under stress, you know, they got to get these pupils to these core subjects at this time, they got to be at this certain level. And I felt with you and some of the guys who was at the school, it was, and my mum said it in the interview, it wasn't about the grades, it was about getting me through life. And you especially taught me that, yeah, I might not be good at one thing, but I might be good at other things. And sometimes, you have to do things that you don't want to do, but it makes up for it because you get to those things that you want to do. And, you know, you see rewards out of that. So, I'd hate maths, but then I had, you know, the talent shows to look forward to and things like that. And I think it's so key that schools have that sort of stuff happening. You know, one of the questions I had, you know, you've gone from, I mean, how long did you work at the school?
Oh, blimey, Max. I must have been there like 15 years or something, maybe even more.
I was going to say, it must be more.
Yeah, it must have been.
Because, I mean,
It must be sort of 20 odd, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've known you since the age of 5.
Yeah.
And I'm 25 now.
Oh, there you go then.
So, you know, and my time at school obviously was from 2002 to 2008.
I mean, I sort of felt with you, like, so back to when you said that talent competition, the pantomimes we'd done, you know, like, you were desperate to sort of like be involved in that.
Yeah.
Desperately. And I thought at the time, wow, this is my big moment. And probably my big moment. I suppose I was sort of like, he's desperate to do this. So here's the cat, right, Max, you know, you want the pantomime, you want the talent show, you got to give me something back. I'll give you the pantomime, I'll give you a role in it, but I want something back. I want a bit of respect and fair play to you, man, 110%. That's exactly what you did. And it's what I found about you, and I think other people I have spoken to, with autism, they got a great memory retention if you let them have it. And yours was, I want to sing in a pantomime. So we gave you a line, 2 lines. Just let him have that. He's involved. He's happy as Larry. So we got other people learning the lines. I forgot mine and all this. Well, you got 2 lines. Next day, learnt them. Want some more? Okay, give him another 2. Learnt them. By dinner time, I've learnt them. Want some more? Well, without going on and on and on, within a week, you end up with a starring role and done it superbly. Didn't fluff one line, and I worked in, give him the shot that he really likes, and you learnt that like bang on.
Yeah.
The talent competition, you done the same thing again. You compared it like you were Simon Cowell, better than I could have ever done. I want to be the compare. Okay, Max. We'll give you the range, no script, bang off the top of your head. You must have said, I think I could say this, yeah. And I worked that out, that give you what you wanted to do, and you'd throw it 110% at it.
Yeah. I always remember that came second the first year, and I was gutted.
Yeah, you was having none of that, weren't you?
I was having none of that. And then came back the next year with Take This, as you know, and was just so driven to win it, because it was the last year of school. I was leaving school, and we introduced the audience vote and the panel vote. Yeah. And I thought, I want to fricking win them both. And I did. Yeah. And then I always remember I got a letter through the post the year after, inviting back to be a judge. Yeah. And it was amazing. It was, honestly, throughout my life there, I felt, this is like one of the questions I've got for you. You've gone from, training bloody Theo Walcott, and then you've got this kid that everyone probably thinks ain't going to amount to anything, everything else, and you were one of those people that made me believe in myself and gave me the opportunities, made me believe, okay, I can do that if I want to do it. So from your sort of reference, you've gone from training Theo Walcott to a kid chucking a chair, in the room. What's that like from a teacher side, and how do you sort of, adapt your skills to fit that person? Well, I suppose it's back to, if you could go like from the Theo thing, like from a football point of view, like there were some good footballers, but like he stood out like quite by a massive margin than anybody else. Yeah. But they're sort of like there won't be anybody else in this village. I'm sure I'd put the mortgage on. There won't be anybody else in this village that does what he's done in football. Plays for England, this and that, Arsenal, bits and pieces. There won't be anybody. Well, there might be, but it won't be in my lifetime. But how do you adapt that? Well, he was quite just a natural at that. With you, you had to get it out of you and work around. Well, he really likes this. And he's really good at it. And some people are really good at football, obviously, that we just spoke about. Some people are good at drawing pictures, and some people switched on to maths like bang and that. But your thing was like that acting, talking. You're always a great talker, sometimes too much. Yeah. In class, Max, shut up, please. No, I haven't finished saying what I want to say. No, I want to oh, go on then. So, but you hang on, Max, that's enough now. But you were always a great talker, but people are good at different things. Some people, like I said, they could be massively good at maths, but in assembly or something like that, or in a play, can you get up and, don't want to do that, maths, but you were the other way round. Yeah. I'll do it. Who's willing to get up? Me! Bang, out the way, I'm coming through. And people said to me, you're brave putting him up there. Other parents, like, nowadays I can remember people saying, you've got Max as a starring role in this thing. I've just seen the programme, yeah? Of
cool, that's a brave move.
Yeah.
You've got Max going to compare the thing. Did you let anybody down? They loved you by the end of it. The same sort of people. Wow, that surprised me. But you have to sort of think, well, it didn't surprise me. But there you go.
But that's because you saw that. I suppose you're willing to look past some of the behaviour. You know, I always say I don't believe in naughty children. I believe that behaviour can be naughty. I always think there's a reason why. Yeah, my reason was I think I just had all these conditions thrown at me. I didn't understand me. You know, I didn't understand me enough to sort of deal with them at the right time. I just used to get frustrated, as you say. Chairs would get thrown, toilet
So if I ask you a question, so at what point did you think, you know, well, I don't behave very well here? Not all the time. Sometimes I have really bad days. You ever think, do you know why? Or just through frustration?
That's a good question. I did not expect to get asked a question. But yeah, I suppose I don't think I truly accepted the fact that I had conditions or anything like that until I really worked with the National Autistic Society.
Yeah.
But I was always driven, and I always wanted to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
With their assumptions, because I just felt that people were getting opportunities that I wasn't, and I wondered, why is that? And you sort of have to reflect. I think at the same time, even though people like you at the school were brilliant, it was very upside all the time. So I'd go to the first school where I had a few teachers that possibly didn't understand autism, but they really understood me. And you were one of them.
Yeah.
You know, you just understood me. You know, you could read a massive guidebook on autism, but if you don't know how it affects that individual, you might as well throw it out.
Yeah.
You grasped that very well. I had teachers at the school that would turn around to my mum and go, he's not autistic, he's just naughty. And that was the help she got. And therefore, if you hear that and you hear teachers just thinking, naughty, you're not going to believe in yourself or have that confidence. But for me, the real turning point was, I would say for me at that school was year 4. I had a teacher, I'll name this one because, hey, she was really good. She was really good with me, lovely. And the talent show stuff, it really brought me out of my shell. It got me to socialise in ways that I never thought I'd be able to. And it made me feel good about myself. Like I was important, like I was capable of achieving something. And to have guys like yourself behind me and believe in me, that meant the world to me.
I think I can remember sort of like, well, you'll probably remember, you remember, because I can remember like the other kids at school, they really warmed you, didn't they? Once you stuck your foot in the middle of that acting capacity and stuff like that, the other kids, they really warmed you, didn't they? Not just that, they adapted you into their circle at play times, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas once I can remember, like, don't get near him. You know, don't get near him. He can throw something at you. But once you done, I think you could see that other children. You know what? He's all right. And like from that playtime, I can remember like you used to play with all the other kids.
Yeah.
Once you got that far.
I remember for years I tried football, and I think it's safe to say, you being a PE teacher, I was freaking hopeless at anything sports. I just wasn't good. Wrestling on the bar, I was
pretty good at that. Yeah,
I was pretty good at that one.
Yeah.
A lot of people to the Mr. office.
Yeah.
But that sort of thing happens.
You were quite good at playing soldiers too, weren't you?
Oh, yes.
You liked a soldier, didn't you?
Yeah, I was obsessed with
yeah.
soldiers at one point.
You certainly was. Yeah. You just make sure you sleep with one eye open.
Well, we'll get on to that. But I remember I tried football and I got a football kick to my face. So I always remember who it was by, won't name them. I'll tell you after. But it stopped me playing football because I just was really worried.
Yeah.
And I remember near the time, not a lot of people cared that I stopped playing football. When I done the singing, and I always remember it was activity day, and I went to the wrong activity. I just went to the wrong bit, and you were running this singing workshop, and you said, you know, Max, what are you doing here, sort of thing. And I said, oh, was, you know, this not where I'm meant to be, but it didn't matter. You just went, well, don't matter, just stay. You got me to sing. The next day I knew I had a song to sing in assembly, Slade, Do They Know It's Christmas Time? And, not Do They Know, Merry Christmas. And I remember going home, this was the days where I didn't have internet, my family were going nuts because they were searching the skybox that night, trying to find that song so they could rewind it and put the subtitles on so I could learn it. Next day I came in, I sang, done the Hulk Hogan thing to get everyone singing, and they did. And from there, everyone just thought, my gosh, he is so cool and so brave to do that. And then I started playing football again. Again, was still useless, but people didn't care.
Yeah.
And I remember the first day I came back, I got a football kicked in my face, and I remember everyone was worried. And they said, Max, are you alright?
Yeah.
And I went, yeah. And that was it. Now I played football. And I always remember that. And, you know, then it was the talent shows and you know, it did. Just that one activity day changed my schooling life. It really did. There's no doubt about it. And that was because of people like you. You know, I know after I left the school, that became less and less not any fault of your own, just because of the school had to go in a different direction. But I think schools need for more things like that. I think it's just as important as English, maths, science.
Yeah.
You know, because as you say, you throw maths at me, I weren't interested.
Yeah.
But it took something for me to get interested.
Yeah.
And you have to have those things to look forward to them.
And I suppose and with sort of like things like pantomimes, acting, plays, whatever. So it still incorporates reading.
Absolutely.
So give you a load of lines. If you can't read them, you know, you're done, aren't you, really? So you've got to incorporate a bit of that, hang on.
It gives you motivation.
Yeah.
Because you start thinking, if I want to do that, I need to freaking learn how to read a bit better. And hey, my mum used that same trip on me. You know, when I went to do my first extra acting gig, I said to my mum, I said, I want you to drive me to Lambourne. She said, I ain't driving you. If you want to do it, you get on the bus. And she did that because I was starting a new job at the time. And I said, well, if you want me working, Mum, you'll have to take me. And she said, good luck. And when the acting gig came up and she knew it was something I really wanted to do, she went, get the bus. And I did. It was the worst journey I ever had. I spilled coke down my trousers, looked like a weed myself. They said, get off at the monument. I passed about 5. I had no idea where I was going, but I did it. And it's things like that motivate you to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to sometimes learn that, hey, you're going to have to go through things that you don't want to go through.
Yeah, we do. We all have to do it, don't we? We have to, we have to go and do things that we don't want to do.
Absolutely.
Shopping.
Yeah. COVID. Yeah. During COVID. Yeah. I suppose like my next question as well. So for you, obviously you've seen me pretty much grow up really. You know, you've seen me from being it's funny, I always tell the story about I always remember distinctively when I joined primary school, the biggest thing that teachers struggled with was they didn't know how to communicate with me. And I always tell this story in my speeches because it just makes people laugh. I said all it took was a PE teacher to go, Max, we having one of them today or one of them? And I just went, that, or I can't remember what one I did. But I just thought this is a perfect example of how we overcomplicate things. Like, I can't ask him how he is. Well, why? Well, he doesn't know how to talk.
Yeah.
I don't know the sign language to communicate. You?
Yeah.
And you're just straight in. You know, and it takes that mind to be able to get there. So, for you, what did you see, I suppose, the progression-wise, from when I started the school and through when I left, what was the sort of parallels, difference
The
there?
parallels, like you said, you have a bad day, you have a good day, and a bad day, good day, and then worked out, as I said, towards the start of this interview, was like, if you could get you laughing, well, anybody that laughs, we're happy, aren't we?
Absolutely.
If everybody laughs, we're all happy. And I thought, he's laughing. Can't remember, what's he laughing about? We've said something, we've done something funny, but he's laughing. And I thought, and if I can make you laugh, well, obviously you're happy. And the more you can stretch that out, the happier you are. And it was that. And I thought, from somebody that could be really stroppy, and you know that, somebody could be really stroppy. And I thought, as the days go on, how's your week been? And your little book thinking, oh, blimey, we had 5 stroppy days. And suddenly that, saying something that makes him laugh. And that 5 days from stroppiness in your little book, hang on, we've had 2 laughing days. But from starting school, the time you went, there was very, very very minimal days when you would have a right old one of those on. And if you did have one of those, it was probably somebody else that had upset you, as opposed to your group of people that you could get on with. But somebody's upset you and stuff like that. But as you went through, you worked it out, as time went on, you think, oh, you must have thought, I'm not as bad as what I used to be. And I'm a lot happier coming into school now, say year 4. The time you get the year, I'm a lot happier now. Not every day, but some days could be virtually a day just gone adrift, when it on the phone to your parents and all the rest of it. The whole day has just gone up in the air. But then the time you got to year 4, if you had a thumbs down moment, that could be an hour or even less. But at one point it was thumbs down at 9:30, thumbs up at 2:45 because you're going home. But see, what makes, he's a happy little soul under all this. And we've got to get whatever he finds funny, whether it's talking wrestling or something like that. But, and that was my theory. I thought, well, he's walked out of here, he's gone, but he's gone here. He's gone out happy, but he might have gone out sad because he's leaving something that he actually got to quite like by the end of your school thing at primary school.
Yeah, I was gutted when I left primary.
Yeah.
Because I had an educational health and care plan, the government very much are involved in what school you go to next. So everyone who I spent years trying to make friends with, they went up the school up the road, and I had to go to a school in the middle. It was that whole process of making friends, as you say, getting people to socialise with you and like you and know the real you. For you as well, what was it like, I suppose getting to know me and then having to, so I think my mum then would come in and go, right, they've diagnosed him with OCD now, right, they've diagnosed him with autism now, right, what was it like for you adapting to that, or would you say you just tried the same approach?
I personally, man, I just thought, wow, this is sounds a big gig, to be honest.
I did sign up for this.
Thinking, crumbs, hang on, does this get me a pay rise? Gee, hang on, I thought, I sort of probably this ain't so bad after all. This could be a massive pay increase. Blimey, I'm going to get a medal for this. I just carried on with the same approach. I thought, oh my days, what's all this about? What's coming next?
Knighthood.
Yeah. I just took the same approach, Max. I thought, well, we got this far,
Yeah.
Let's just keep going on the same track.
It must have been, because I remember, I don't know if you remember, but like for instance, at one point I had tics because the side effect of the medication I was on. So I was having to like twitch and roll my eyes in the back of my head, and that was, you know, a tough time. And you probably sat there thinking, you know, what is going on? But for you, do you feel? I mean, I have to say, and I always say this: you was by far the best PE teacher I had by a mile. One of the best teachers I had by a mile, because you just understood me. You know, you really did. But do you feel that school had enough support for, you know, autistic people, special educational needs?
Oh, blimey, Max. Do I feel... but it wasn't just me, like, involved with you. I don't sort of mention any names, so it's like I can think of, you know, there was two lovely ladies looking after you. So, I don't know what it was like sort of when you left. I thought, from us three people, I thought like there was enough support in there to deal with you. Now, not being funny, I mean, if there'd have been another half a dozen, there's always going to be one Max, wasn't there, really? So
well, yeah, true.
Stupid question, really. But if there'd been another half a dozen, maybe there wasn't. I don't know. Because, like, you know, sometimes I had to go and do something else and the other two were going to take over, and, you know, we all, well, as you know, we all basically ended up, used to talk together, what do we do here, you know. We all took the same approach, basically. And I can remember when we went on a residential, that me and one of the other women had to go on the residential just to basically keep an eye on you. So it was like, you know, two minders you had.
Yeah.
But I can remember we came back. How was it? We had to phone in. He was perfect. You know, they had all this thing. What if we go walking down the town and Max does a runner? What if he goes? Who's going to get him? And me and the other person that was involved in going with you, we both said he's not going to run away. He won't run away. Confident of that. If he gets on our nerves, we'll probably tell him, go and have a run over there. We'll out the way for a minute. No, but it was perfect. You were sort of like, you know, perfect.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, that was apart from staying around grandparents, that was the first time I stayed away from home.
Yeah.
Because I did not like staying away from places.
No.
I did not like it. But that trip was, you know, one of the best trips I had. You know, the stories that you've got, I mean, feel free to share.
Blimey.
But
I tell you what, Max, you probably, I don't know, sort of like, so yeah, wait, I didn't sort of invite you in, let's get this straight, but I mean, I can remember you had the room next to me, because, you know, I sort of like, on the boys' end, you had the room next to me, with the other lads, and I can remember vividly that you played soldiers from the minute we got there, rolling around in the mud and I don't know what, and then you were still at it, and we had a window that looked all over the fields and across towards the sea, and I can remember there was a terrific gale blowing this particular night, and enough's enough now, so I had to come in and shut you lot up, not just you and your mates that you were with, and I can remember saying, right, enough's enough now, guys, this is it, there's a gale blowing, the lights are going out, and I can remember vividly as I switched the light out, in this Clint Eastwood stroke accent, make sure you sleep with one eye open. I turn into, what? Just make sure you'll sleep with one eye open because I'm coming to get you, boy. And I said, oh, Max, shut up and good night, and switched the light out. And the following morning, the wind was blowing the things and crumbs. This is rough out here. And I got up to look out of my window and there was a bang. And I thought, that must be so drafty. The door's just slammed and the door was shut. So I got into bed and I put the radio on. And he decides to poke their head up the side of my bed at the end and said, you weren't sleeping with one eye open, boy, were you? You got in my room. Poking your two fingers like that over there, you got a gun in your hand. What is get out? Like that. And I can remember on the way back, the same residential trip, you get those cardboard things, you get tractors and things. Press the button to test here, and you press the thing on a fire engine and the siren goes off.
Was it a gun?
And it was a gun. and I'm looking after the money, and you all got £2 to spend in the gift shop on the way home. And I'm giving everybody out the £2 on the bus and that, and you've got your £2, and we're walking round around the gift shop and trying to keep your eye out. And all of a sudden, you got the gun on the cardboard, but the test ear thing, and you went, brrr. You still weren't looking over your shoulder, were you? And you just went on and on. I thought, what is he going at? Yeah. And I can remember well, the residential, it was a week of you playing soldiers. I meant sort of like drawing and doing this. You just ran around, well, you was a soldier. You were on military exercise for a week, were you? Not residential.
Yeah, but the best thing about that was how you embraced it. I remember you looked up the roles, what the highest rank you could have, which I remember to this day was a field marshal. I still remember. I remember one of the teachers nearly rolling off the cliff of the hill, shouting "man down."
You were shouting "man down"! Oh my word! I thought, oh, what's he doing next? Please. Yeah.
But it was how. Again, I think it's brilliant that you can have that sort of relationship with a pupil and talk about it and just laugh about it now. I of course apologise. I broke into your room in the middle of whenever it was.
It was in the morning. Well, I don't know how long you'd been there.
Yeah, I probably slept.
You might have been sleeping on the carpet.
I wish I could answer, but I can't remember. But I don't doubt it happened.
I just remember them telling you to shut up, shut up, shut up. And as I turned my back, you just said that. I said, what did you say? Oh. Make sure you're sleeping with one eye open, boy. I'm coming to get you. Anyway, all good fun.
For you as well, though. I mean, what was your sort of, and honestly, be brutally honest. What was your thoughts for myself? When I left the school. Yeah, because I can imagine a lot of people thinking, ain't gonna amount to anything. Hey, might be doing this one day, but
I used to sort of bumping, not regularly, see your mum, always asked how you were doing, ask other people, anybody see Max, some of your mates from school, or and that, how's Max doing? Yeah, doing all right, and that, and I always thought, I thought, hopefully he'll get through life okay. And then as the stories went, I thought, hang on, this hadn't come as a surprise when I heard you got your acting gigs and stuff like that. Wasn't surprised at all. Even more so your acting. Then I see this thing, you collected awards and bits and pieces. So proud. Yeah. So proud. And if you sort of come here to interview me, and I'm literally, this is how I find it, I'm literally a very small cog in a big wheel. It's not dead. There's other people that I don't know that must have, professional people, doctors, psychologists, there's other people involved in all this. Like I said, I'm literally one little cog on a great big wheel that's seen you through this. But without all those cogs in that wheel, everybody can throw everything at you or anybody else, but if you don't grab what's being offered, you're on a
bit of a loser.
Yeah, you are. You're on a sort of no-brainer. Here's what you need to do, Max. Here's what we got to do. Here's what we got to do. Professional people. And if you don't take that in and do a bit of it yourself, so in fairness, we're all in the cog of the wheel, but at the end of the day, the only thing that makes the wheel go round is going to be you. And fair play, and you have made the wheel go round. You've got this YouTube channel, you've got this, you're doing talks, you're doing acting, you're doing bits and pieces. you got a great job, and fair play to you. Congratulations.
I think I've been very fortunate though. You know, as you say, all those cogs have made it possible for me to be able to do what I have. You know, there's some people out there that, you know, I've got a very supportive family. I've had the pleasure to have some great teachers, and you know, you're not just a small cog, you are a big cog, because at the end of the day you were one of the first teachers, along with some of the others at that school, that made me, you know, really believe that I could do things. And I always say, if we don't get it right at this level, it's just a knock-on effect everywhere else. So the fact that, yeah, maybe the school I went to could have done things a bit better educational wise, no fault of them. As you say, I hated maths, I hated English, but it was about working with that individual to get them to
I mean, it's had to be careful. I mean, there was another guy, the other guy in the office.
Oh.
But I mean, he was, you know, such a caring man, you know, like he was supporting you all, you know, like say to me, you know, I'm sort of like, how can I put it? I'm sort of like, I'm the frontline troop out there, but he was my field marshal. So if you tried this, let's get him in here. So he was, you know, he was very impressive.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's, as you say, there's loads of people, but and you know, sometimes again, there's people out there that don't have that. You know, there's so many autistic people out there that don't have that supportive PE teacher to go, all right, you're not great at football, but you're bloody brilliant at singing. Let's do that instead. There's people out there that have not got a mum or like a dad like that.
Oh yeah.
And it's those people that, you know, I feel that they're always let down. You know, I mean, to some extent, I mean, I've been very fortunate, but there's been cases where I've been let down by schools or the government or how the system works. But there's people out there that have been tremendously let down, and that's because they've not got, yeah, a Pete Fry or, you know, a mum like mine, or so.
So let me ask you another question. So have you got friends? Like, I know you got friends, but have you got friends with the same condition?
I know quite a few people who are autistic. I speak to a lot of people within autism communities. So a lot of the people I have on this series, funny enough, will be autistic or have a son or a daughter who's autistic, and it's really varied for different people. You know, as you say, I loved your quote, which was, let's face it, there was always only ever going to be one Max, because that's the key to it. You know, when you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And how you dealt with me, you might deal with someone else differently. But that's because you I don't know, there was just something that you had. You really was able to grasp that. You know, in such a sense, you don't proclaim to be an autistic expert or any of those things.
No.
But you sit here and go, I understood you. And that's the key to it. You know, you understood me. And that's sometimes all that's needed. You know, so that's why I say, you know, you was absolutely massive part of my life, because it changed the way I looked at things, and it changed the way how I believed in myself. You know, and that wouldn't have happened had, you know, I had that early influence in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I used to go to after school club, and I remember I'd prefer to go around the school with Mr. Fry and do the cleaning.
I used to like getting hold of the broom, didn't you? Let's get the Hoover out. Not go in there, I'll give him the Hoover and let him do what. But it's pointless, because it was a pointless exercise trying to fight, you know.
Yeah.
You know, this is a silly thing. We'll let him have the Hoover and push that up the corridor, because he'll be gone, sat out on the field in the freezing cold.
Hey, some people call it child labour. I call it adapting to that person's needs and actually going, he doesn't want to do anything at after school club. He wants to hang out with Pete Fry, who's cleaning the school at the moment.
Max has got a new mate, he's called Henry.
Yeah, Henry the Hoover. Or what's the woman one?
Oh, I don't know.
Henrietta.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, for you, I suppose a question for you as well. Out of all the pupils, would you say I'm the one that you probably remember the most because of those experiences?
There's, I'm not going to mention any names, I can't. You wouldn't be the only one, but it could sort of like, well, you wouldn't be the only one, and there's certain pupils that you remember, boys and girls, for what their talents were, like, but not just everybody being talented. There's some of them that you probably remember for being a right pain, but but I mean, you would be in that core group of people, you know, and you're obviously one of those people who's sort of like really proud of what you've achieved, you know, so you could sort of say, you know, back to that Theo Walcott, what he's achieved, you know, but on a different level. So he's done incredibly well, but for what you're doing for autism, so have you.
And it's just, again, it's not like as you say, schools I think focus so much on measuring, you know, how they're doing in maths, how they're doing in English, how they're doing in science. But I think if anything, this conversation has shown that it shouldn't be the be all end all. If someone's doing not so great in English, education's important, but if they're, you know, going to be the next great footballer or you know, going to be a great singer or a great actor one day, why not focus on these things instead of focusing always on the negative, which is, you know, they're not doing great in maths, they're not doing great in English.
So I went to school, I thought one of my best friends, he's a farmer. So he was a farmer and brought up on a farm, and no, don't mean that just because you're brought up on a farm you're going to be a farmer. This lad's still a farmer, but he was like, he'd be away endless in the harvest time, and he'd say to me, I ain't coming to school, he said, I've got to help out on the farm. But now, you can't say just because they're like, well, but this was like 90% sure that this lad was never going to do anything else. So like, I think maybe the theory was, let him know maths. If you buy something for £20 and he's 15, he wants £5 change, let him read, not a book, but let him learn to read so he can read a map and stuff like that. But the sort of history levels and things like this lad was going to be a farmer, you know, so sometimes, like, you know, this doesn't, the world don't work that way, but I sort of own a bit of sort of like, which you shouldn't probably say, well, you know, he can read, he can add up, let him go and be a farmer, and he's still a farmer.
It's just about knowing what that person's key skills are. You know, I was always asked in Parliament, and it made you laugh. They said about, you know, what do you suggest around, you know, because there's so many people that weren't getting jobs because they didn't have the correct qualifications. You know, so if someone wanted to be you know, an architect, you know, they've got to have a level 2, a level 2 in maths, a level 2 in English, to the point when I joined my job and I started off an apprentice, I needed a level 2 in maths. Took me 7 times to pass, but I did. But when I was asked at Parliament about that, they sort of said, well, what do you suggest? And I just said, well, it's about focusing on people's key things. For instance, I always knew that I wanted to be an actor, and then later on through life, I realised I wanted to work in IT. So I needed a level 2 in maths in IT, and I can absolutely tell you, I don't need to add up a lot in IT. I don't need to do this and that around maths in IT. I certainly don't need to know how many wives Henry VIII had. It's good to know, but if we're at the point where people are not getting opportunities because they don't know how many wives Henry VIII had, but they could design, you know, the next Tower of Pisa or, you know, the next Eiffel Tower, and someone's not getting the opportunity because, you don't know how many wives Henry VIII had. I think that system's quite flawed, really.
Yeah. Well, you can learn things like that if you're interested, can't you? Even more so now that sort of the internet. you know, what's the capital or so and so. I don't know, but you only got to literally look on the internet and bang, you've got your information.
Yeah. My last question would be, what sort of, for early stages in your career, because you probably thought, hey, you're never going to meet someone like Max Green who's going to chuck a chair across a classroom or you know, shout man down when someone's going to roll off a hill. For early in your career, what made you get into teaching? And when you was against those obstacles of having an individual who's got a big long sheet worth of conditions, what got you through those times? What got you through really wanting to think, I really want to know this kid and I really want to know and understand him? And what would you suggest to new teachers that are going?
Well, I come to work at the school. It's a long story, really. Well, we'll be here for another bloody hour. But back to sort of where you are, yeah, I never thought, crumbs, hang on a minute. You know, did I sign up for this?
I'll get you your medal.
It's my wages, you know, does it sort of like compensate that? But no, and like, yeah, and then sort of like encountered a couple of others, not sort of like autistic kids, but yeah, it's just, I suppose it is part of the job, isn't it? Like, as I said, you were the first one that came along. As I said, well, there was only one Max, so I didn't have another one. But I suppose it's like anything, isn't it? You know, like, it's like what you sign up for, isn't it? You know, if you sign up to be a fireman, you know full well that, you know, at some point, you know, you might be sort of going out because somebody's got the cat stuck up the tree, but you're not signing up to go up a ladder and get someone's cat up. And in all like those sort of jobs in teaching and that, not just here, like all over the country. I mean, there's some, you know, some people are like dealing with far more issues than what I had to deal with, you know, like some serious issues. So I think it's just part of the thing that when it comes along, you've got to deal with it.
Well, no, I have to say, you know, thank you for sitting down and talking to me and, you know, taking up your time, you know, to do this. I think a lot of people will learn from it, from this episode, because, again, there's no autistic analytics, there's no, you know, full knowledge of autism, ADHD, all that, but it's simply two people who had a real relationship. It's a teacher who really supported a student and got them through life, and a lot of parents out there, yeah, cry for that support and want that support. And, you know, not only you were good with autistic children like myself, but you were good with everyone. Everyone liked Pete Fry. Yeah, everyone liked Pete Fry. I've not met one person in my life that had an issue with Pete Fry, that thought Pete Fry was an whatever. Never had it. I think people like you are a rarity, and I mean that.
Thank you. Really,
I do. So, thank you for coming on, Pete.
Pleasure, Max. Good night.
Good night. Well, guys, that was the last episode of the Autism Connections. Thank you to all my guests, Laura, thank you Orlando, thank you to my mum, thank you for Ellie Chappell, and thank you for Alexis, and obviously the man, the myth, the legend, Pete Fry. Back to normal episode soon, but guys, thank you for watching, take care, and goodbye for now.